What do you even say when the world's #1 chess player, Magnus Carlsen, opens with this move, pawn to f3?
Chess speaks for itself.
And it just gets better because his opponent, the world's #2 chess player, Hikaru Nakamura, then plays this in response. Surely the two greatest opening moves we've seen the entirety of 2025. The game only gets better here. This is titled Tuesday, just played today, 25th of March, early tournament, and they were fighting for the championship. Let's see how it went down. Magnus now plays something sensible. Hikaru copies, and does he push in the center now? No. He plays pawn f4. Bro wants to go full 19th century King's Gambit mode. This is exciting. Hikaru sets up the big black center. Magnus now takes. The queen comes streaming out. Knight to c3po. Don't blunder your queen. Hikaru saves it. Takes. Black got the worst pawn structure, but at least you can get all your bits out now relatively quickly. Magnus develops this one. You might be wondering, what if e4 immediately? Well, then you can jump here, hit the queen, it moves, then you pick up a pawn, lovely jubbly. So don't get too trigger happy. Instead, Hikaru develops, Magnus checks, because obviously now we see the pawn blocking, the bishop drops back, and we see where it's headed. Now Hikaru decides it's the moment to pull the trigger in the center. Is the pawn overextended? We're about to find out. You could go knight g5 once more, look to capture, do some queen e2 stuff, win back your piece with the pin, but instead we see Magnus play this one, pick up a tempo on the queen. It jumps into f5, and now that threat of taking the horsey is renewed. So Magnus pins the pawn. Pin win, baby. That's why this one blocks. Again, the threat is renewed. Magnus considers castling because he was streaming this game live, but instead he goes for knight to h4. Now, it's normally a stinky boo-boo to stick it on the edge, but boy does it have the desired effect, right? Because Hikaru goes into the tank, freezes harder than Ding Liren at the World Chess Championship, and finally, after a minute and a half, and ahhing about going here or whatnot, he plays queen g4. I mean, by the time the move lands, Ding Liren has full gone through a bag of nuts. He's like a squirrel these days. Now, what do we see played? Well, the exchange of the queens, of course. Magnus loves to grind like a grandma deep into the endgame. Gary the Goat's absolutely loving it. And this knight's now got nowhere to go. All the squares are taken. Therefore, this is forced to defend against the attack. You could take, mangle the structure. It's what we mortals and terrible chess players would do, but these guys love their bishop pair. So we see e3 played by Hikaru. It's a great randomizer, and Magnus goes a bit wrong here. He should simply castle, connect the rook into the game. Well, connect in a moment. Once this guy comes out, away you go. You're well up on the clock, over a minute. But instead, he plays pawn d3, and Hikaru just keeps playing excellent move after excellent move, and the game gets messy. Magnus kicks this one. It jumps in, of course. Don't blunder your rook. Magnus lifts it, just whispering in a mini way, do you even rook lift, bro? He covers the pawn, kinda. It can still be taken. And how many of us are taking that pawn? Just looks really natural to do so, of course. Maybe with the knight, let's say. It's looking a bit precarious. But what do we see played? The excellent bishop d6. That's not an obvious move on seconds. Magnus now has to think, use some clock time, jumps back with knight e2 after 20 seconds. Now we get takes, but with the bishop. How risky is that? Because after bishop takes on e3, you've now removed the defender of the knight. It's going to drop. What do? Well, Hikaru does this, but hang on. Now the bishop's no longer defended. But what he's seen is that after takes, or he got lucky, who knows, but it works. He can take here, restoring the material balance. Somehow he's dodging and darting, ducking and weaving. He's still alive. Rook f1 check is a threat, winning this guy, and Magnus should drop back with the rook already here. But he plays king d2, hits the knight, and again, just another excellent move. You know, somehow knight g4 feels more natural, just jumping back, staying nice and safe. But we see the check played, you know, spotting that it's supported by this rook from afar here. So Magnus now moves the king back. The knight jumps back to e3. It's tantamount to a draw offer, but Magnus wants to play for more. They both love to fight. This is why we love El Clasico between them. Now he drops back to cover this square here, and after knight d7, almost completing the black development, king d2 hits the knight. It jumps to g4. Magnus should now bring that second rook into the game. He's normally so good at understanding you have to bring everyone to the party, but instead he plays the terrible knight d4. Why is it so bad? Excuse me. Now Hikaru can invade with check, and if you play the natural king c3 to hide out on the cubby hole, well, not only is a5 looking quite dangerous, maybe even the pawns can storm soon, but even this one is extra dangerous because you pin win over here and c5's on the way. That one is just impossible to meet in any good way. So we jump back. This wasn't played. Magnus steps back, but how ugly is that? Disconnecting, split rooks on the board, not good, as Danny King at Power Play Chess says. We get the 0-0-0, bringing this one into the game, but it's not Christmas for Magnus. He hits the bishop, and look at this. It centralizes. That one's no longer a bishop. It's Pope E the Fifth, an absolute mammoth of a leader in the center of the board. We see knight e7 check, but after king b8, that knight, hopelessly now in the enemy
mushrooms,
is stranded. The best way to go here is with this kamikaze, you know, giving two knights for pawn, two pawns and rook, trying to play this position. But of course black remains better, especially rookie in the corner. Is there anything forlorner? But Magnus misses it. He plays knight e6 to hit the rook, but we simply get the sidestep. And where's that one going? It's an octopus that Stocktopus is not proud of. It's about to drop off the board here. Magnus goes for this one to try and win the bishop, but it saves itself and wins a pawn. Now he crashes through here, given a square of course, going for some checks, some randomizer stuff, but now we don't even see Hikaru take. He plays the powerful rook f1 check. King scurries up to its only square, and he wins an entire rook. That one finally dead. It was moribund for many moves. Rook takes on g7, hits two pieces, but once again, the precision of Hikaru here, filigree, saves the bishop with check, so the king goes, and only now does he move the knight. Holding on to his extra material, still this knight is attacked, but also the one behind it. Magnus, of course, now saves it, breathing a sigh of relief. But after bishop b4, excellent move. Now the rook and bishop converging, threatening a check. Magnus intercepts it, of course, but does Hikaru move that bishop? No. This is unreal chess on seconds, I've got to say. Anyone who's played online, you'll know what I mean, right? When your piece is attacked, you move it. It's just your instinct. It's what you do on seconds on the clock. But Hikaru doesn't do so. He plays the excellent retreating knight move to f8. Now counter-attacking this one, saying take me, no worries. I'm then going to win this guy and crash through and with check, and you're getting absolutely busted. I mean, this is incredible chess. Rook f7 is played, possibly a mouse slip, who knows. Now takes, and Magnus Carlsen resigns because his whole house is just collapsing. Not his finest chess in the time scramble or the minute leading up to it, but what Hikaru did there, 25 moves under 10 seconds. That is Ali Reza on steroids level of chess. This is the final position, you know, why resigns? Well, let's say takes with check, king goes, bishop saves itself, I don't know where, let's say here, and okay, what's the material count? An entire rook and bishop ahead. I reckon Hikaru could convert that one. What a game. Hikaru finishes third, but he had a disconnect, didn't even play round 3. So he finishes third on tie break despite only playing 10 rounds. Sindarov took it. Gukesh also had a great tournament. Hope you enjoyed. Check out the video on screen if you want to see truly a remarkable Hikaru game, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.